very warm welcome to all the participants connected with us. At NITTTR Chandigarh also, we have 27 participants available with us in the classroom. And we are going to discuss a very important topic, that is an evaluation tool known as Rubric. So as per NEP 2020, there is a constant demand from the faculty members that we need to do continuous assessment. So maybe at polytechnic level, NEP 2020 is not completely implemented. But yes, to improve teaching learning practices as a teacher, we need to improve upon the assessment and evaluation practices. Only then we can think of what are the different teaching practices that we need to involve to make the platform more efficient for the student performance. So keeping this in view, we are going to start with a discussion on the topic, that is development of a rubric. So when it comes to the design of the rubric, the first thing that I would like to clear to all the members, that whenever not only rubric, for that matter, any evaluation or assessment tool, when it is prepared at departmental level. So if you are using any evaluation tool for the student performance, the reliability and validity of those tools need to be checked. And at departmental level, we need to make a decision that whether this particular evaluation tool or assessment practice is very good for our student population or not. Say, for example, at NITTTR Chandigarh, when I am designing a multiple choice test paper for my student, I know the level of my student, and as per their maturity, as per their level of understanding, I'm going to design few statements for them, and that is appropriate as per the level of my student. And for that matter, suppose if at polytechnic or xyz engineering institution, when you're using the same test paper for the students available at your institute, maybe that paper is of a somewhat higher approach or maybe of the lower approach, because the way you was teaching to your students may be different from the way I'm teaching to my student. Curriculum may be same. If the different faculty members are dealing with the same kind of a subject, the approach to deal with that particular subject may be different. So if there are 4 to 5 members available with us for the same branch or for the same subject, the approach of every faculty may be different when it comes to the interpretation of the curriculum, dealing with the teaching methods and media, and designing and giving different evaluation and assessment practices. So that is why whenever we are designing something for our student in terms of evaluation and assessment, it is at departmental level. So maybe the head of department given responsibility to 1 or 2 faculty members to design and tool, but every department faculty need to provide input to that particular criteria, to that particular tool. And once all the faculty members of that department agreed upon that criteria, only then that evaluation strategy need to be used for the student. एक दिन में कितने स्टूडेंट कितने सब्जेक्ट्स को टीच करते हैं? In a day, how many lectures are there for the students on an average? 8 lectures. And for 8 lectures, there will be 4 different faculty members who are dealing with that particular semester student. So every faculty, if they are having a different approach of assessment and evaluation, it means for every class the student need to prepare their mindset in a different dimension or in a different direction. So keeping in view the level of the student, we need to design some of the criteria that is common for all the student, and every faculty member need to stick to that particular criteria. Let's take example of few of the activities that we all give to our students. Say, for example, presentation skill. When we assign seminar activity to our student, when we give minor project or major project activity for our students, when we design laboratory classes for our student, in classroom practices, when I'm using quizzes, when I'm using multiple choice paper, when I'm setting question paper for my internal test. So these are the common activities all the students, all the subject teachers are dealing with on day-to-day basis. So there must be some standard criteria that need to be developed at institute level, so that it is easy for the student to go with the pace as per the expectations of the department. So when I'm saying presentation skill, if I'm evaluating somebody in terms of his or her presentation skill, my evaluation criteria may be different from the criteria available in my department for another faculty. So when I'm saying presentation skill, it can be in any language, but your verbal and non-verbal behavior need to be in line with each other. There may be another faculty who said presentation skill means, since you are a technical student, you need to speak in English only. If you are able to speak in that particular language, I'm very impressed when you are presenting information to me. And another viewpoint may be a technical student, if he or she is very good in terms of his understanding or knowledge, doesn't matter in what language he or she is presenting that information, because as a teacher of communication skill, my demand may be on the command of English language, but as a technical faculty from that core area, my demand is the level of understanding I need to develop among student population related to that subject matter. So that is why whenever we are designing an evaluation criteria, the expectations of the faculty need to be clearly communicated to all the student. So whatever your expectation, when you are giving those expectation in a written format to the student, it is easy for the student to understand what my faculty demand from me for this particular task or for this particular activity. So that is why evaluation criteria need to be decided at departmental level. Individual faculty may design evaluation criteria, but all the departmental faculty need to give input, and head of department need to approve that criteria before using that criteria at institute level. Okay. So when it comes to assessment, so my first question to the participants of another program, that is development of life skill, I hope you all understand the meaning of assessment, what we mean by assessment.
Evaluating the students on a certain criteria uh,
Okay, thank you very much,
for
Manish
achieving
sir.
certain objectives.
Certain objectives. Okay. So more or less, we all have information that what we mean by assessment. So I'm not spending much time on this slide. So when it comes to an assessment, assessment is a Latin verb. So the meaning of this verb is to sit with. So when it comes to an assessment, so the major difference between evaluation and assessment means assessment is on day-to-day basis. So we are assessing the performance of our student on day-to-day basis. It may be with the help of questioning technique that you are using in your classroom environment. It may also be with the help of the different tests that you have designed for your student. But the purpose of assessment may not be to give final grading or final score to the student. So I am assessing performance just to improve the quality of the work that my students are producing in different day-to-day activities. So when it comes to an assessment, it means we are collecting information. What kind of information we are collecting? We are collecting information in terms of student learning. So what they are able to do after the completion of this particular topic or after the completion of this particular unit. So how we gather information? Assessment is saying that we are collecting information, but the question arises how the teacher is going to collect that information. And for that matter, when we are assessing the performance of the student, it is not only the faculty who needs to collect information in terms of student performance, but also the management of that institute need to collect information. Say maybe there is one faculty who is very good in terms of the subject specialization. That faculty earned higher degree from different institutions and have a very good command over the subject knowledge, but it is not that that faculty is able to fulfill the expectations of all the students in a class. I may be high in terms of my knowledge pool, but it is not that I'm able to deliver that information as per the level of my student. So come to that particular level where my students are able to understand information. That is the example of my teaching effectiveness. To collect information, to deliver information, and to disseminate information are the three different parameters in which all the faculty members need to work upon. So we may collect information, but if our students are not able to understand that information, it means somewhere I need to improve upon my teaching learning practices that I'm going to use at institute level. So when it comes to the collection of the information, we use different kind of test. कितने तरह के सप्लाई टाइप एंड सिलेक्शन टाइप आइटम्स करिए हमने? शॉर्ट आंसर टाइप, मल्टीपल चॉइस, क्लोज रिस्पॉन्स क्वेश्चन, एक्सटेंडेड क्लोज रिस्पॉन्स क्वेश्चन, ओपन रिस्पॉन्स क्वेश्चन, फिलिंग द ब्लैंक्स, मैच द फॉलोइंग, ट्रू फॉल्स, असर्शन क्वेश्चंस. सो ये क्या है हमारे the different test items or the different kind of tests that we are able to
Then,
kind. Yes, sir.
Sorry for interruption. Bless note.
Not an issue, sir.
We also take a personal demographic scale. We prepare a question.
Okay.
That is also.
This is for what? Which subject, sir?
If we want a basic information from any person, either in a counseling session or in a research methodology, we use a basic information checklist prepared by our own self to know the basic information of the person, his gender, his name, his education, from which socio-economic background he is hailing from, uh, sort of that.
Thank you very much, Charanpreet Singh, sir.
Yes.
So very rightly added by sir, when it comes to know the level of the student, it is not only we restrict ourselves up to the knowledge pool, but the kind of environment or the kind of past experiences that individual may have before coming to your class. So that is also essential for the teacher to know. But when it comes to the subject matter information, as a teacher, we all design different kind of test by using different kind of items. So when we are administering a test for our student population, somewhere, not somewhere, in all the universities, in all the boards, there is a standard criteria that is given to the faculty member. That internal assessment is of 40 marks, or your external evaluation is from the 60 marks. And this is the section A, section B, section C. So the set of the question paper, the criteria of question paper is already designed as far as our external evaluation system is concerned. But for a technical teacher, for a technical student, the flexibility is provided in terms of internal evaluation criteria. So when it is said in internal evaluation criteria, if there are 40 marks for a subject in terms of internal evaluation, and suppose 30 marks given to MST1 as per the criteria, the rest marks may be distributed among the different activities the teacher is going to design. Nobody restrict the faculty member to give different kind of activities rather than giving written assignments again and again. हम देते हैं ना 3 written assignment out of 3, 2 best will be considered. So we sometimes the teacher need not to give written assignment, and specifically in this information age, when number of applications available with the student, rather than giving written assignment, maybe the teacher can plan for a reflection based activity. Maybe the teacher can give a small project work to the student in terms of assessment marks. Maybe a simple viva was say conducted by the teacher, and on day-to-day basis the teacher is giving remarks or grades to the student. So in internal evaluation or internal assessment, whenever we are administering a test, the flexibility is available with the teacher how he or she need to design that particular test. Next is asking questions. So it is a very simple technique by the use of which we can assess the performance in a classroom environment. When we are asking questions to the faculty member, for you, when you are asking questions to the student, we come to know the level of their understanding. Maybe in induction training program, you are very new for the teaching learning system. But once the teacher is able to get some sort of an experience, the teacher is able to collect information, observe, just by observing the behavior of the student. So experienced faculty members know कि कौन head nod कर रहा है और कौन actually mentally मेरी class में available है. From the non-verbal behavior also, we are easily able to assess the level of understanding our students are showing to us. टीचर को ये भी पता चल जाता है कि कौन मुझसे क्वेश्चन किस सेंस में पूछ रहा है, वेदर ही वांट्स टू इवैल्यूएट कि मुझे कुछ आता है कि नहीं, या वो एक्चुअली में अपनी लेवल ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग को इंक्रीज करना चाहता है. So whenever we are asking question, it is not only the verbal behavior or the verbal explanation that the students are developing, but from the non-verbal behavior, no response is also a response. It gives you a signal that somebody is not doing well at the another end of the scenario. So when we are asking question, we are observing the behavior of the student, and at the same time we are collecting and analyzing the kind of information that is given to us by our student, and on the basis of that we are going to use different kind of teaching strategies. So when it comes to the use of teaching strategy, maybe today you come prepared to your class with the lecture method, but your student said to you that the past lecture or the past topic that you have covered in the class was not very clear. So you need to develop that content again for us. So वो PowerPoint presentation आपके पास नहीं है. So it is the role of the teacher to use the blackboard and cover that topic again or revise that topic again for the student. But ye kab hoga? When you are asking question and come to know that many of the students are not able to go to the another information before covering the or understanding the past information. So when it comes to the selection of teaching strategy, there may be 101 method available, but it is the instant decision sometimes the teacher need to take in a classroom environment that what teaching method is more appropriate for my student. से फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर मैं अपनी लर्निंग प्रेफरेंस की बात करूं, फॉर मी आई एम नॉट एबल टू लिसन एनी बॉडी फॉर 1.5 आवर. जब तक मैं वो टॉपिक अपने लेवल पे पढ़ के नहीं आऊंगी, आई एम नॉट एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड फुली व्हाट इन्फॉर्मेशन द अनदर इंडिविजुअल इज गिविंग टू मी. मे बी समवेयर आई एम मोर इनटू क्रिटिकल लिसनिंग rather than active listening. So with age, our preferences are also changing in terms of learning. So rather than just focusing on active learning, at the same time, we are critically analyzing information that is delivered by the speaker. In various STC also, in this particular program also, when you are listening to the number of experts, you are not only involved yourself in active listening, but at the same time, you are critically evaluating that information. कि वेदर दैट इन्फॉर्मेशन इज एक्यूरेट और नॉट. ये क्या बोल रहे हैं, इससे ज़्यादा इन्फॉर्मेशन तो मेरे पास अवेलेबल है. वो चाहे आपने गूगल से सर्च करी हो एंड दैट इन्फॉर्मेशन इज नॉट वैलिड. But the point is, we all have past kind of experiences, and from those past experiences, whatever information available with us, we are using that information for developing our level of understanding. And if the teacher is asking question and changing the teaching strategy as per the demand, it means I am able to develop a level of understanding among my class student. So performance test किसके लिए होगा last में? In a technical education system, as far as diploma level institutions are concerned, 60% weightage is given to the development of psychomotor skill. So rather than just focusing on the theoretical portion of the diploma level student, our major responsibility is to develop the skill component. When it comes to the degree level institution, 40% weightage as per the curriculum given to the psychomotor development, and 60% weightage is given to the cognitive ability of the student. So their understanding, conceptual understanding, abstract thinking, abstract level of doing the things need to be developed at institute level. So depending upon what level, what type of students available with you in your class, what are their past experiences, what are their learning preferences, based on that we are going to design assessment criteria. Next comes to evaluation. So when it comes to an evaluation, in a layman language, evaluation means I'm passing my judgment as a faculty in terms of performance of my student. So when we said the student is able to got first position, student is not able to get 40% of the marks. So we are just passing remarks or the judgment for our student population that whether they are able to score good marks in a given subject or not. So evaluation कब होता है? Always at the end of the semester. Assessment कब होगा आपका? डे टू डे बेसिस पे. तो इवैल्यूएशन में क्या है? वी प्रोसेस ऑफ एनालाइजिंग, रिफ्लेक्टिंग अपॉन एंड समराइजिंग असेसमेंट इंफॉर्मेशन एंड मेकिंग जजमेंट और डिसीजंस बेस्ड ऑन इंफॉर्मेशन. असेसमेंट के बेसिस पे टीचर डिफाइन कर रहा है दैट व्हाट लेवल ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स अवेलेबल विथ मी इन माय क्लास, और जो भी मैं इंफॉर्मेशन उनके लिए डेवलप कर रहा हूँ, अप टू व्हाट एक्सटेंट दे आर एबल टू डेवलप. इवैल्यूएशन में क्या होगा? योर मैनेजमेंट विल पास इंफॉर्मेशन रिलेटेड टू योर टीचिंग इफेक्टिवनेस. Say for example, if there is a computer science and engineering branch at your institute, and suppose there are 120 students enrolled for that particular program. So when I'm saying 120 students enrolled for that program, उन्होंने same kind of test clear किया होगा, उनका same merit basis के ऊपर पे admission करा आपने. It means somewhere the IQ ability of all the students are similar. और अगर आप दो sections में divide करते हो, more or less in both the groups the similar kind of students are available. I'm not saying same, but the similar kind of students are available in two different groups, section 1 and section 2. And for a same subject, there are two different faculty members who are dealing with those sections. Group A को कोई और teacher पढ़ा रहा है, group B को कोई और teacher पढ़ा रहा है. Student population similar, curriculum similar, syllabus similar, similar number of academic days available with both the faculty. And suppose at the end of the semester, एक क्लास के स्टूडेंट के मोर देन 60% ऑफ द मार्क्स और दूसरी क्लास के स्टूडेंट के मार्क्स जो है वो लेस देन 60% है, तो किस चीज पे क्वेश्चन करेगी मैनेजमेंट? सपोज यू आर द हेड ऑफ डिपार्टमेंट, तो आप उन दोनों टीचर से क्या क्वेश्चन करोगे? आपको उनका वे ऑफ टीचिंग, ऑब्जर्वेशन, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ प्रैक्टिस इज यूज्ड बाय द टीचर थ्रू आउट द सेमेस्टर के एक स्टूडेंट के तो मोर देन 60% आ रहे हैं और एक सेक्शन इज नॉट एबल टू कवर दैट पर्टिकुलर सब्जेक्ट। तो जब हम असेसमेंट करते हैं, इट इज द मेजर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज ऑन द पार्ट ऑफ द टीचर, एंड आफ्टर getting the scores in terms of evaluation, it is the management who is not only going to design some of the policies at institute level, but at the same time he or she can improve upon the practices that is happening at institute level. वो आपकी टीचिंग इफेक्टिवनेस पे भी देयर मे बी अ क्वेश्चन एंड दे मे गिव यू रिमार्क्स और रिकमेंडेशंस टू improve upon. So evaluation is a final judgment that we are giving based on the practices and methods used for the similar kind of student population. So when I said he got 60 marks out of 100, what judgment you make? It means the student is able to pass from that particular subject. से कोई यूपी का टीचर कहता है कि दो स्टूडेंट को तो लिखना भी नहीं आता, in that case also if he is able to score 60%, it means it's a very big achievement. अगर आप किसी एमटेक वाले स्टूडेंट के सब्जेक्ट की बात करें तो आई वुड से कि आउट ऑफ 100 इफ इट इज ओनली 60 मार्क, देयर आर मेनी चांसेस दैट स्टूडेंट इज नॉट एबल टू डू गुड later on with his or her research performance. So there may be different kind of judgment depending upon which type of students we are dealing with and in what context we are dealing with those students. So we are simply passing judgments out of that. So assessment is not evaluation. Your day-to-day practices in classroom can be graded one, it can also be non-graded one. आपका पर्पस क्या है? To engage students in the process of learning. So जब इंजीनियरिंग इंस्टीट्यूशंस में मोटिवेशन की बात करते हैं ना, what is the motivational force for my student to come to my class? क्यों आते हैं बच्चे हमारे पास? मार्क्स, इधर अटेंडेंस और इधर मार्क्स। जो हम लर्निंग आउटकम्स डिजाइन कर रहे हैं, दैट इज द ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ द टीचर टू achieve during classroom sessions. Most of the students are not here with us in our classes just for the collection of information. They are here कि टीचर की प्रेजेंस, टीचर को मेरी प्रेजेंस फील हो and I am able to get good marks or good score in terms of internal assessment or external evaluation. Maybe teacher is there to help me by providing notes and by providing reference material. बाकी जो हम ये मोटिवेशन की टॉक सुनते हैं, ये जो हम मोटिवेशन के लेक्चर सुनते हैं, दे आर एज पर माय परसेप्शन वो कितने टाइम के लिए होते हैं? जब तक आप उस सेशन में होते हो। उसके बाद हम किस चीज पे फोकस करेंगे? व्हाट इज माय नीड फॉर फ्रॉम दैट पर्टिकुलर इन्वायरमेंट। तो स्टूडेंट की जब हम असेसमेंट कर रहे हैं, वी आर ट्राइंग टू इम्प्रूव अपॉन द परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ द स्टूडेंट डे बाय डे. Suppose there are 4 different scales on the basis of which we are assessing the performance of the student, that is A, B, C and D. Practically within a semester, it is possible for me to shift the level from D to C, but it is not possible for me to shift the level from D to A. वो D to A कब होगा? अगर कोई मिरेकल हो जाए उस स्टूडेंट की लाइफ में, तो it is possible for him or her to cover all the things. Otherwise within 90 academic days, my objective as a teacher is कि अगर मेरे पास कोई D level पे आया है, at least I am able to develop that candidate either up to C or either up to B, depending upon how many efforts put in by me as a teacher and by the student. So testing, measurement and assessment are not same, but in many of the education policies, we are using these terms interchangeably. But the purpose of these things are altogether different. Now the question arises where we are heading in assessment. How many teachers in a classroom always heard कि ये तो हमें आता है मैम, इसके आगे बताओ। आप कोई टॉपिक जब अपनी क्लास में डील करते हो, many of the students said कि ये इन्फॉर्मेशन यूट्यूब के XYZ लेक्चर में अवेलेबल है, we will listen to that information. आप मुझे क्लास में और एडवांस इन्फॉर्मेशन क्या आप दोगे, और why I am here in class with you. It means हमारी जो स्टूडेंट हैं उनके characteristics are changing. If I'm not able to engage my student in the 45 minutes of class, it means somewhere I need to put some extra effort for my student performance. कल आपने एक्टिविटी में फ्लिप्ड क्लासरूम वाला वो करा था. फ्लिप्ड क्लासरूम का बेसिक पर्पस ही क्या होता है? इंफॉर्मेशन इज ऑलरेडी अवेलेबल, प्रोवाइड दैट स्ट्रक्चर्ड इंफॉर्मेशन टू द स्टूडेंट विल कम प्रिपेयर इन दैट क्लास, और जब आप फ्लिप्ड क्लासरूम में क्लास लोगे तो स्टूडेंट विल आस्क यू क्वेश्चंस रादर देन रिपीटिंग दैट इंफॉर्मेशन. स्टूडेंट टीचर से अपनी डाउट्स को क्लैरिफाई करेगा रादर देन कि आप उसे डेफिनेशन लिखवा रहे हो या प्रिंसिपल्स लिखवा रहे हो. द स्टूडेंट्स कम प्रिपेयर्ड विद दैट काइंड ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन. सो जब आप उन स्टूडेंट की क्लासरूम असेसमेंट करोगे, दैट इज डिफिकल्ट फॉर यू टू हैंडल अदर देन यूजिंग अ लेक्चर मेथड. Initially what happened, if we divide our class into 3 different segment, एक आपके पास जो क्लासरूम टाइम है आप उसको 3 पार्ट्स में अगर डिवाइड करोगे, मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम इन अ क्लासरूम इन्वायरमेंट वी आर नॉट यूजिंग, अर्लियर वी वर यूजिंग इट फॉर द एक्सपोजर ऑफ न्यू इंफॉर्मेशन. जब भी स्टूडेंट हमारे पास क्लास में आता है, वी स्टार्ट टेलिंग डिफरेंट थिंग्स रिलेटेड टू द सब्जेक्ट. So we are using that classroom environment for the exposure of information. There is minimum chances available with the student to process that information. वो आपको सुन रहे हैं, they are trying to retain information. इतनी information वो retain नहीं कर पाएंगे, at least they are trying to retain that information, but they are not processing information. But NEP 2020 किस चीज़ पे focus कर रही है? Test higher order thinking skills, analysis, critical thinking and conceptual clarity, and focus on assessment for learning. So assessment must be regular, it must be formative, it must be competency based, promote learning and development of the student. So rather than using classes for exposure purposes, the classes must be used for processing on new information, and in the presence of the faculty, the students are going to ask questions to the teacher, and teacher is here to simplify that information and give it to the student. मैं अपने स्टूडेंट्स को कहती हूँ कि अगर आपको इंग्लिश पढ़नी आती है ना, एंड यू एबल टू इंटरप्रेट और ट्रांसलेट द मीनिंग ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर सेंटेंस, यू आर एबल टू कवर एनी ऑफ द सब्जेक्ट. आपके पास नेप्टल है, स्वयं है, यूट्यूब इज देयर, खान अकेडमी इज देयर, कोर्सेरा इज देयर, EDU is there. So there are many facilities available with the students nowadays. Teacher is here to facilitate the process of learning. So as a teacher, मेरा role, say for example, I'm taking the subject of research methodology for my student. My classes are not for what do you mean by research, what is the process of research, how you need to undergo the research project, and how you are going to take research projects from the government. Those schemes are already available. आप Google पे search करोगे, information is available with you. Student को process find out करना research का, there are different type of research processes available, different designs available. I need to give a practical problem to my student. Maybe the first class I ask my class student to identify problem from your field of specialization, and whatever problem you have selected, try to find out that what are the different ways by the use of which we can solve this problem. So जब student वो activity को कर रहा होगा, at that time information related to the theoretical concept need to be given to the student. सिंगापुर पॉलिटेक्निक सिस्टम में इस मॉडल को यूज किया जाता है, एंड दिस मॉडल इज नोन एज कंसीव, डेवलप, इम्प्लीमेंट एंड ओरिएंट. वो डायरेक्टली स्टूडेंट को फर्स्ट ईयर में प्रोजेक्ट देते हैं. व्हेन द स्टूडेंट्स आर वर्किंग ऑन डिफरेंट प्रोजेक्ट, along with the project they develop different subjects related to it. So assessment NEP in India is also focusing on the development of higher order thinking skills among students. So there is one evaluation tool that we can use for classroom assessment purposes. So there is one tool that is known as Rubric. Rubric is again a Latin word. The meaning of this particular word is the red earth for coloring. So initially it was condition put on the faculty members to use either red pen or black pen for evaluation of the answer script. So from that particular process, the name of this evaluation tool is being taken. So when it comes to the evaluation criteria or designing a rubric, the first thing that we need to understand is there is a relation between learning outcome. हम सबने learning outcomes पढ़े हैं ना? There is a relation between learning outcome, your assessment method and your scoring method. Say for example, if learning outcome is define something, तो हम किस चीज को assess कर रहे हैं? The remembering ability of the candidate. So remembering को analyze करने के लिए scoring method क्या होगा मेरा? Written test और viva versa. When I'm saying apply something to a given situation, it can happen in a laboratory environment, or I'm using a case study method of analysis. So depending upon my learning outcome, I have selected or design an assessment practice, और जो मेरा scoring method होगा वो क्या होगा? Case study need to be evaluated in a different manner as compared to the traditional written test approach. When I'm saying demonstrate something, it means it is happening in laboratory environment or even in a theory class also it can happen. So how the teacher is going to evaluate the performance in terms of demonstration when the student is following the different steps designed for that particular activity. So whatever learning outcome you are going to design or write for that particular subject, in line with that, your assessment approach need to be there. And based on that assessment method, there is a scoring method that need to be selected. हम लैब में नंबर देते हैं 100 में से 100 करते हैं ना, 100 आउट ऑफ 100. प्रोजेक्ट में कितने मार्क्स है? 500 में से 459 मार्क्स. सो देयर कैन ऑल्सो बी अ क्वालिटेटिव स्केल. स्टूडेंट कैन नॉट बी अप टू द एक्सीलेंस लेवल. आप डिप्लोमा वाले को कहते हैं कि तुमने 100 आउट ऑफ 100 मार्क्स ले ली इन अ गिवन प्रोजेक्ट, बट थिंक अपॉन दैट, इज इट पॉसिबल फॉर द स्टूडेंट टू catch that much of excellence level? So there need to be a qualitative description of that scale also. So in the time to come, when the millennium generation enter in a technical education system or in engineering institutions, the way we were teaching, the way we were designing assessment method and scoring method are going to be different. जो हमारा primary education system है, that is following the 3 domains of education. At present भी वो तीनों domains of education पे काम कर रहा है, that is cognitive, psychomotor and affective domain. आप अपने प्राइमरी एजुकेशन के स्टूडेंट्स को ऑब्जर्व करना, दे आर प्रेजेंटिंग इन फ्रंट ऑफ नंबर ऑफ ऑडियंसेस नाउअडेज. उनको जब लेटर्स का या नंबर्स का इंफॉर्मेशन दिया जाता है, आइडेंटिफिकेशन ऑफ थिंग्स आर देयर अलोंग विद द स्पेलिंग्स. सो दे आर वर्किंग ऑन हैंड, हेड एंड हार्ट मूवमेंट. तो वो एजुकेशन के तीनों डोमेन्स पे एट प्रेजेंट आर प्राइमरी एजुकेशन सिस्टम इज वर्किंग वेरी हार्ड. अब वो वाला सीन नहीं है कि टीचर ने डॉट डॉट बना दिया और स्टूडेंट उसको कॉपी कर रहा है. The way they are dealing with the student is very different, and in the next 10 to 15 years, when we were the part of this technical education system, those are the students to whom we are going to teach. So those students are not ready to listen to anything that is delivered by the faculty. So आज की डेट में स्टूडेंट किन क्वेश्चंस को ड्राइव करता है क्लासरूम एनवायरनमेंट में? Why, rather than asking for what, they are asking for why and how. So when the classes are full of why and how, it means application of that particular subject need to be there. Okay, the book hai, I will read that book. What next I need to do, that the teacher need to tell me. So in this particular sense, as a teacher, we need to create some of the tools that will represent the performance expectations for an assignment or for the piece of work. So can I give a small activity to all of you? So my request to all the participants, suppose, let's take a hypothetical case. Suppose there is a 20 marks for an activity that is presentation skill. So for your subject, you have given an activity that is presentation skill of 20 marks. Now, as a teacher, when you are assessing the performance of the student in those presentation skill activity, what will be your assessment criteria? आप उन 20 marks को किस तरह से distribute करोगे? What is your assessment criteria for evaluating or assessing the performance of the student in terms of presentation skill? So there need to be a quantitative scale only. आप पे restriction क्या है कि आप सिर्फ quantitative scale use करोगे, since we have to mark our student out of 20. So आप उन 20 numbers को किस तरह से divide करोगे? So I give 5 minutes to all the members. After 5 minutes, we will start a discussion on this particular activity. आपकी 20 marks की presentation skill को आप किस तरह से distribute करोगे for assessing the performance of the student? Yes, any member who is ready to present this? Sukhwant Kaur ma'am said presentation or delivery 2 marks, content 5 marks, relevance of the topic 5 marks, techniques used in presentation 5 marks, and feedback from the listeners 3 marks. Another candidate said content 8, delivery 7, presentation ideas 5 marks. Yes, Sweetie ma'am, you can unmute yourself and respond to the assignment.
हेलो गुड इवनिंग मैम।
Good evening.
मैम प्रेजेंटेशन स्टार्ट कैसे करिए उसके लिए हम 3 मार्क्स कंसीडर करेंगे।
Okay.
और उसको स्लाइड्स को कैसे अरेंज किया है, कंटेंट्स को कैसे मैनेज किया है उसके लिए 3 मार्क्स। और उसने टॉपिक को अंडरस्टैंडिंग उसकी टॉपिक के रिगार्डिंग वो एक्सप्लेन कैसे कर रहा है वो 7 मार्क्स। और वे ऑफ इंटरेक्शन 5 मार्क्स। और एंड में जो क्वेरीज को वो आंसर कर पा रहा है तो उसके लिए 2 मार्क्स।
Thank you very much, Sweetie ma'am. Another response that is given by Mr. Charanpreet Singh sir, that is knowledge of the subject 5 marks, presentation 5, fulfill the demands of the question 5 marks, and coherency and grammar. Now see, there are different kind of expectation from every faculty member. So it's the same kind of activity that is given to all the member is presentation skill. So a participant replied outline of the topic 10 marks, content, presentation style 3 marks, feedback from the listener 2 marks. Suppose you are using this activity at your institute for 3rd, 5th and 8th semester student, and for diploma 1st, 3rd and 5th semester student. So when you are saying the student is very polite when he is presenting information and he is able to control emotion, the student is patient enough to listen to the information asked from him. When the student is very good when it comes to the verbal as well as non-verbal communication, the dressing sense of the student is very good. So is it practically possible for us to gain all the kind of things from a classroom environment? आप स्टूडेंट को कहते हैं कि कल आपकी प्रेजेंटेशन है और मे बी नेक्स्ट वीक इज योर प्रेजेंटेशन एंड वी आर गिविंग this activity 20 marks and you need to come prepared. So every faculty, if they have different expectation at this in line, every student in your class sitting may have different kind of performance expectation. So it means it is not clear to our student that what as a teacher you are demanding from them. So when you said design of presentation, structure of presentation, so maybe in your class one student take maximum amount of time to design that presentation, make it more attractive. कुछ लोगों को होता है ना कि पीपीटी नीड्स टू बी देयर ऑन द बोर्ड, ऑन द स्क्रीन, only then I am able to impress to the audiences. So it is not only the content, the structure and design of presentation matters a lot. So they may be their expectation, our expectation may be restricted only up to the content information. So when the expectations are not matching, somewhere teacher and faculty members are putting their effort in a different kind of direction. हम सेम क्लास में दो डिफरेंट प्लेटफॉर्म्स पे, टीचर इज देयर, स्टूडेंट्स आर सिटिंग देयर, सो दे बोथ आर एट अ different level performing different kind of activities. So जो rubric as an evaluation tool है, that eradicate this kind of barrier. वो इस challenge को reduce करता है because as a teacher we are giving performance expectation for any assignment or for any piece of work in a written manner to our student. Rubric कभी भी आपकी verbal explanation नहीं है. It is a tool, evaluation tool developed in a written form and given to the student. मैं पहले आपको एक rubric sheet दिखाती हूँ. Suppose this is the tool, rubric as an evaluation tool I'm going to use in my subject of communication, and my purpose is to the development of speaking skills among student. So I already given this particular criteria to my student कि अगर मैं आपकी speech को excellent कहूँगी, what are the different parameters on the basis of which it is considered as excellent, meet expectations में क्या है और average category क्या है और fails to meet expectation. कौन से students हैं जिनको अपनी speaking skills पे एफर्ट डालने की जरूरत है. तो उस केस में क्या है, देयर आर 3 डिफरेंट लेवल्स क्लियरली डिस्क्राइब्ड टू द कैंडिडेट कि एक्सीलेंट स्पीकिंग स्किल्स क्या होती हैं, एवरेज स्पीकिंग स्किल्स क्या होती हैं, नीड्स इंप्रूवमेंट स्पीकिंग स्किल में आप किन पैरामीटर्स को फोकस करोगे. सो ये रिटन क्राइटेरिया आपने स्टूडेंट को दे दिया विद व्हेन यू आर असाइनिंग एक्टिविटी. जब आपने एक्टिविटी दिया अलॉन्ग विद दैट दिस रूब्रिक शीट नीड टू बी डिस्प्लेड फॉर द क्लास स्टूडेंट. अगर LMS फैसिलिटी है वेरी गुड, अदरवाइज टेक अ हार्ड कॉपी, डिस्प्ले ऑन द नोटिस बोर्ड और अलाउ योर स्टूडेंट टू यूज सेल फोन एंड क्लिक फोटोग्राफ ऑफ दिस स्लाइड. सो स्टूडेंट जब अपनी स्पीकिंग स्किल के लिए प्रैक्टिस करेगा, द स्टूडेंट विल फोकस ऑन दीज पैरामीटर्स ओनली. अगर मेरी प्रेजेंटेशन में डिजाइन ऑफ स्लाइड्स नहीं है तो आई कैन सेलेक्ट एनी ऑफ द स्लाइड अवेलेबल एंड आई विल फोकस मोर ऑन द verbal explanation. अगर मेरे टीचर ने ड्रेसिंग सेंस को कंसिडर नहीं किया बाय कंसिडरिंग माय सोशल इकोनॉमिक स्टेटस ऑफ द क्लास, so I will not focus on the dressing style, I will more focus on the verbal as well as non-verbal behavior. So rubric में हम क्या करते हैं, हम written में criteria अपने student को दे देते हैं कि this is the criteria on the basis of which I am going to give you marks or rewards for that particular activity. Next question आता है, when we are designing rubric, on what basis we are designing that tool? So it is always based on the learning outcome. आपके सब्जेक्ट की लर्निंग आउटकम क्या है. से प्रेजेंटेशन स्किल फॉर अ प्रोजेक्ट वर्क मे बी ऑफ अ डिफरेंट नेचर. प्रेजेंटेशन स्किल फॉर द क्लास ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन स्किल इज ऑफ डिफरेंट नेचर. प्रेजेंटेशन in case of any topic from the syllabus assigned by the technical faculty is of different nature. Activity क्या थी? Presentation skill है ना. Research based presentation skill different nature का होगा और आपकी communication skill की क्लास में different kind of presentation we are demanding from our student. So किस basis पे होगा? It is based on the learning outcome. Learning outcome can be of skill based, it can be on the actual performance of the student, it can be on the basis of the product, it can be on the basis of the, जैसे मैम ने बोला फॉर्मेटिव है कि नहीं, इमोशंस को कंट्रोल कर पाता है कि नहीं, हाउ द स्टूडेंट इज रिस्पॉन्डिंग टू द डिफरेंट क्वेश्चन. तो वो सारे कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स क्या है आपकी? अफेक्टिव कैरेक्टरिस्टिक, हाउ द स्टूडेंट नीड टू रिस्पॉन्स और टू रिएक्ट. कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स के जब हम लेक्चर्स लेते हैं हम क्या सिखाते हैं, आपने भी शायद इस टॉपिक में करा होगा इफेक्टिव कम्युनिकेशन में. और जब हम लाइफ स्किल्स में कम्युनिकेशन की बात करते हैं, द वन मंत्रा दैट वी गिव टू ऑल द प्रेजेंटर इज ऑलवेज रिस्पॉन्स रादर देन रिएक्शन. आप किसी भी सिचुएशन को रिस्पॉन्स करोगे, उस पर रिएक्ट नहीं करोगे. नेवर लूज योर पेशेंस व्हेन यू आर प्रेजेंटिंग इंफॉर्मेशन इन एनी ऑन एनी प्लेटफॉर्म. तो जो भी आपकी लर्निंग आउटकम है उस बेसिस पे आप अपने टूल को डिजाइन करोगे. व्हाई वी नीड रूब्रिक? रूब्रिक का बेसिक पर्पस क्या है? हमने देयर आर 3 different scales that I have shown to you in a rubric sheet. It means there may be variety of students in your class. Some may be in a very good category, some may be in good category, some may be in average category, and some students may need improvement. So variety of work produced by the students in a class, as a teacher I need to differentiate between the quality of the work produced by the student and try to develop them gradually. जब मुझे पता ही नहीं है कि मेरी क्लास में needs improvement वाला student कौन है, it is not possible for me to select instructional method and media. So rubric as an evaluation tool किस चीज में help करेगा? It helped me to define the resulting spectrum of grades for the classroom assignment. So when I'm saying a student in excellent category, excellent can be from 100 to 80%, excellent can be from 100 to 95%, excellent can be from 100 to 90%. It is you who is going to decide what we mean by excellence level for that particular category. थर्ड सेमेस्टर के स्टूडेंट का एक्सीलेंस लेवल डिफरेंट होगा एज कंपेयर टू द स्टूडेंट ऑफ फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर और एज कंपेयर टू द स्टूडेंट ऑफ फाइनल. सो जब हम अपनी वैरायटी ऑफ वर्क प्रोड्यूस होता है, वी कम टू नो व्हाट लेवल ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स आर देयर इन अ क्लास. हाउ आई एम एबल टू आइडेंटिफाई दिस? से फॉर एग्जांपल इन द इनिशियल ऑफ योर सेमेस्टर यू गिव अ स्मॉल एक्टिविटी टू योर स्टूडेंट, मे बी ऑफ एनी नेचर. एज एन एग्जांपल, a case study given to the student on broken engine part, and we divided class student into 3 different groups. Mechanical engineering students are there, and there are 3 different group of student. One group after the case study analysis said the engine is broken, pointed out all the broken part and they were right and stopped there. Second group ने क्या करा? Agreed on the engine was broken, they went on to say why it was broken and maybe even said what effect the broken part had on the rest that was not broken. Third group student gave solutions also. तो कितने ग्रुप थे हमारे पास? 3 ग्रुप है, and there are 3 different analysis that came to us. First group give ideas, second group give connection, and third group give solutions also. So I come to know there are 3 different scales in terms of assessment available with me in my class, that is good, better and excellent. अब मुझे एक्सीलेंट वाले को क्या देना है? as a teacher, what I need to do for excellent category students? नहीं, वो तो पता है कि excellent है. अब as a teacher, what I need to do for that excellent category? ज़्यादा marks देने. Assessment का purpose है हमने quality of work को improve करना. So जब हम excellent category student है, it means there must be development of critical thinking skills among these particular category. So they need to advance their thinking. वो अपनी thinking को कैसे advance करेंगे? When the teacher is giving opportunities to them to interact with material and sources. Engineering में जब हम creativity की बात करते हैं, there are two different type of thinking that is happening in a classroom environment: convergent thinking and divergent thinking. Convergent thinking क्या है? The problems which are having fixed solution. लाइफ स्किल्स में हम क्रिएटिविटी की बात करते हैं ना. फॉर एन इंजीनियरिंग ग्रेजुएट और स्टूडेंट, क्रिएटिविटी डेवलपमेंट मीन्स योर क्लासेस नीड टू बी फुल ऑफ कन्वर्जेंट थिंकिंग एंड डाइवर्जेंट थिंकिंग. एग्जांपल्स, कन्वर्जेंट थिंकिंग हम अपनी डे टू डे क्लासेस में यूज करते हैं, बिकॉज इन इंजीनियरिंग व्हेन देयर आर फैक्ट प्रिंसिपल्स that are already defined and we are solving many of the problems based on that facts and findings. It means we are developing convergent think solutions दे रहे हैं for a given problem. So student is using their convergent thinking skill. But there are technical problems that are serious by nature and may have multiple solutions. There are technical problems that are serious by nature, may have multiple solution. आज के न्यूज़पेपर टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया में आया ना, पॉलीयूरेथीन को उन्होंने डिग्रेड किया विद द हेल्प ऑफ 2 बैक्टीरियाज. तो वो प्रॉब्लम क्या है? इट्स अ कॉमन प्रॉब्लम. डंपिंग ऑफ वेस्ट और कलेक्शन ऑफ वेस्ट इज अ कॉमन प्रॉब्लम. सोल्यूशन किससे फाइंड आउट करा उन्हें? बायोटेक्नोलॉजी से. मे बी केमिकल इंजीनियर सेट की इंसिनरेशन कर लो, फ्लू गैसेस को स्टोर कर लो एंड देन रिफाइन दोज गैसेस एंड रिलीज टू द एनवायरमेंट. So there may be problem, they have multiple kind of solution. So excellent category के लिए divergent thinking need to be developed because they are very good in terms of finding fixed solutions for the problem. इसलिए हम उन्हें excellent category में कह रहे हैं. So your classes sometimes rather than just giving structured problems, sometimes the teacher need to give ill structured problems to the student. Ill structured problem में क्या होगा? Student need to identify different parameters to solve a problem at hand. मैं यहाँ एग्जाम्पल देती होती हूँ क्रिएटिविटी में. थर्स्टी क्रो है ना, थर्स्टी क्रो इज द बेस्ट एग्जाम्पल ऑफ डाइवर्जेंट थिंकिंग. The kind of resources, the kind of observation, the kind of intelligence he is able to put to solve a problem at hand is a best example of creativity. And we are listening to this particular story since childhood. तो वो स्टोरी नरेशन का मतलब है कि वॉट एवर रिसोर्सेज मटीरियल्स अवेलेबल विद यू, यू आर एबल टू सॉल्व अ प्रॉब्लम within those optimized resources. तो जब हम कहते हैं excellent category, the role of the teacher is to create classes in such a manner that somewhere on a day we need to attend those category students also. Better category student means performance need to be increased. तो जब हम rubric में उनको remarks देंगे, they come to know that in this particular dimension I need to work hard. Goal is clear to that particular candidate. Good category candidate के लिए भी there are different dimensions that we have already described. So rubric help us to develop creative ability among our student when we are providing written criteria in terms of their performance expectation. मैं अपने इंजीनियरिंग के स्टूडेंट को बैठ के क्रिएटिविटी का लेक्चर तो नहीं सुनाऊंगी ना. I can show 3 to 5 minutes of video, but on day to day basis मैं उनकी लाइफ स्किल्स को कैसे डेवलप कर रही हूँ? By using teaching strategy and practices in a classroom environment. So advantage क्या होती है ऐसे tools की? It provide a grading consistency. Your expectations may be different, but when a written criteria is decided at institute level, all the teachers are going to use that particular criteria. So when it comes to the use of this particular rubric tool, when a written criteria is available with you as a teacher in a department, it means you are using the same kind of criteria for every student. So it is a very transparent kind of assessment and evaluation that we carry forward. Reduce the time spent on grading by reducing the uncertainty. जैसे हम सेटिंग क्वेश्चन पेपर में बात कर रहे थे ना कि reliability and validity need to be increased. In that, there may be chances in a class that when student copy pasting information from one source to another source and submit it to the faculty. Since the face value of one student is very high, teacher give him or her 10 out of 10 and for other candidate it is 7 out of 10. और स्टूडेंट वो असाइनमेंट लेके टीचर के पास पहुंच गया कि सेम असाइनमेंट के आप उसे 10 में से 10 नंबर दे रहे हो और मुझे आप 7 नंबर दे रहे हो. So that kind of evaluation, specifically when we are shifting our education to online environment, this kind of assessment is not going to work. So when the criteria is available, it reduces the heated argument in a classroom environment caused due to uncertainty and reduce the time spent on grading. Faculty can identify those skills or concepts that need more instructional time and student effort. मुझे पता है student is in excellent category. The student is very good when it comes to the use of different practical skills, but when it comes to presenting information in terms of audiences, student is not good. He or she do not felt confident when it comes to presenting information. तो as a teacher मैं जब भी उसे activity दूंगी, my focus is not on the development of writing skill, my focus is on presenting that information in front of student. Rubric can help monitor assess their progress as they work towards clearly indicated goals. आपके मॉडल करिकुलम सिलेबस डिजाइंड बाय AICT, लर्निंग आउटकम, प्रोग्राम आउटकम, यूनिट आउटकम्स आर ऑलरेडी देयर, and it is the teachers who are going to use those outcomes. But when you give this in terms of your evaluation strategy, it becomes the goal of your students to achieve. So ये उनको help करेगा use that learning outcome for their betterment. Format for a rubric. This is a standard format. आप इंटरनेट पे कोई भी rubric सर्च कर लो for your subject, for a written test, for assignment, any kind of activity, more or less this type of rubric is available in numbers. This particular rubric is analytical kind of rubric. So this is the most popular rubric among teacher population. Excuse me. So rubric का standard format में क्या आता है? The first thing is the task description. So when I said presentation skill, मेरी presentation skill में expectations क्या हैं? Whatever my expectation that need to be the part of task description. Now read this slide and come to know that what are the different expectations from that presentation. सबसे पहले expectations क्या है? Time limit. कितने मिनट की presentation चाहिए मुझे? 5 minutes. Changes कितने साल का डेटा इकट्ठा करना आपने? Research based presentation है, कितने साल का डेटा इकट्ठा होगा? लास्ट 30 इयर्स का. कितने टाइम में प्रेजेंट करना है? 5 मिनट में. और ये 5 मिनट में 30 साल का डेटा आप कब दे सकोगे? जब यहाँ पे क्या होंगी? मैप्स होंगे, ग्राफ्स होंगे, फोटोग्राफ्स होंगी और अदर विजुअल एड होंगे. राइटिंग में तो आप इतना डेटा नहीं दे पाओगे. सो यू हैव टू क्रिटिकली एनालाइज दैट इन्फॉर्मेशन एंड कन्वर्ट इट इनटू ग्राफिकल फॉर्म, और फिर उस ग्राफ को आपको एक्सप्लेन करना है. तो ये नहीं है कि आप 1980 से लेके 2020 तक सिर्फ डेटा इकट्ठा करके उसके थियरी को पेस्ट आउट कर रहे हो. इट नीड टू बी इन अ क्रोनोलॉजिकल एक्सपोजिशन. तो इज इट अ सिंपल काइंड ऑफ प्रेजेंटेशन द स्टूडेंट इज गोइंग टू प्रिपेयर? 2 हफ्ते लग जाएंगे उसको ये पीपीटी बनाने में. तो ये किसकी एक्सपेक्टेशन है? टीचर की. कहाँ देनी है आपने? टास्क डिस्क्रिप्शन में. सपोज अगर मैं अपनी टास्क डिस्क्रिप्शन में ये ना डालूं, लास्ट लाइन में डिलीट कर दूं, मैंने अपनी एक्सपेक्टेशंस लिखी एंड द लास्ट लाइन इज नॉट अवेलेबल. Presentation will include appropriate photograph, map, graph, visual aid. It is difficult for the student to compile that information within limited time. तो task description में क्या होगा? Whatever your expectations, those expectations need to be clearly highlighted for the student population. नेक्स्ट आता है आपका एग्जाम्पल है आपकी रूब्रिक फॉर ओरल प्रेजेंटेशन. ये टास्क डिस्क्रिप्शन नहीं है, दिस इज एक्टिविटी. अब इसकी डिस्क्रिप्शन कौन डिफाइन करेगा? इट इज द डिपार्टमेंट हु इज गोइंग टू डिफाइन व्हाट वी मीन बाय ओरल प्रेजेंटेशन. स्केल कैन बी क्वांटिटेटिव, स्केल कैन बी क्वालिटेटिव. जब हमने स्टूडेंट्स के लिए किसी भी लैंग्वेज को यूज करना है ना क्लासरूम इन्वायरमेंट, इट इज ऑलवेज द यूज ऑफ पॉजिटिव काइंड ऑफ वोकैबुलरी. पॉजिटिव वोकैबुलरी मीन्स आई विल नॉट से दैट यू आर फेल. मैं क्या लिखूंगी अपनी रूब्रिक में? बिगिनिंग लेवल, emerging level, needs improvement. So that kind of language I need to use so that my student felt connection with me as a faculty. But अगर यही एक्टिविटी या यही असाइनमेंट मैंने, मान लो सपोज मैंने पीएचडी कोर्स वर्क के लिए कोई रूब्रिक डिजाइन करनी है, एज अ टीचर मैं वहाँ पे ये नहीं लिखूंगी बिगनिंग लेवल. वो तो हाईएस्ट डिग्री में अब कौन सा बिगनिंग लेवल है? वहाँ मैं डायरेक्ट स्टेटमेंट दूंगी कि यू आर फेल इन दिस पर्टिकुलर एक्टिविटी. For master's level, if he or she is not able to present orally, that candidate is fail in that particular dimension. So उसको बहुत effort डालने की जरूरत है to get good marks or good score. तो जब हमने scale define करना है, again the level of the students come into picture. So quantitative can also be there, qualitative can also be there, and if it is possible, use positive verb terms, non-judgmental and non-competitive language for the student. तो हमारे दो पार्ट हो गए, स्केल हो गया, टास्क डिस्क्रिप्शन हो गया, देन द डायमेंशंस ऑफ द रूब्रिक शीट. आपने लेसन प्लान करा है ना टॉपिक. Lesson plan or task analysis means we divide that activity into number of subparts, and on the basis of those subparts, we will provide the dimensions of that rubric sheet. तो अब आपने जो अपनी प्रेजेंटेशन स्किल वाली एक्टिविटी करी थी, उसमें आपने जितने भी पैरामीटर्स क्लासिफाई करे हैं, those parameters become the dimensions of that rubric sheet. Communication skill, और क्या था? कंटेंट है, क्वेश्चन आंसर है, रिस्पॉन्स है, टेक्निकल नॉलेज है. तो ये सारी क्या होगी आपकी उस रूब्रिक शीट की डायमेंशन. मिनिमम द डायमेंशन, इट इज इजी फॉर द टीचर टू असेस दैट एक्टिविटी. जितनी नंबर ऑफ डायमेंशंस आप इंक्रीज करोगे, इट विल बिकम मोर डिफिकल्ट एंड मोर कॉम्प्लेक्स फॉर यू टू इवेलुएट द डायमेंशंस. हम कह रहे हैं कम्युनिकेशन स्किल. एक टीचर कह रहा है ड्रेस होनी चाहिए, एक टीचर कहता है वर्बल होनी चाहिए, एक टीचर कहता है नॉन वर्बल होनी चाहिए. कम्युनिकेशन मीन्स वर्बल एज वेल एज नॉन वर्बल. नॉन वर्बल में आपकी ज्वेलरी, आर्टिक्राफ्ट, क्लोथिंग सब कुछ आ जाएगा. तो आपकी रूब्रिक में 3 डिफरेंट डायमेंशन की जगह पे क्या डायमेंशन होगी? कम्युनिकेशन स्किल. जब आप उसकी डिस्क्रिप्शन डेवलप करोगे उस डायमेंशन की, तो उसमें आपके तीनों पैरामीटर्स को पे आप फोकस करोगे. Minimum the dimension, it is easy for the teacher to evaluate and assess, and then weightage to the different dimension. आप knowledge को कितने मार्क्स दे रहे हो, थिंकिंग इंक्वायरी को कितने दे रहे हो, कम्युनिकेशन को कितना दे रहे हो, विजुअल एड्स को कितना दे रहे हो, और प्रेजेंटेशन स्किल को आप कितने मार्क्स दे रहे हो. You can be very good when it comes to communication, but you may need improvement in terms of presentation skill. प्रेजेंटेशन में आपका कंटेंट, जो आप कंटेंट को एक्सप्लेन कर रहे हो, दैट कम्स इनटू पिक्चर. सो डिस्क्रिप्शन ऑफ डायमेंशन, अ रूब्रिक इज कंसिडर्ड एज अ लैंग्वेज ऑफ गेम ऑफ लैंग्वेज. सो आपकी जो जितनी भी डायमेंशंस है, दैट नीड टू बी क्लियरली डिस्क्राइब्ड. से study analysis in a classroom environment, a simple holistic kind of rubric developed. There are only 2 dimensions, clarity and application, 5 points to each. Scale divided into excellent, better and good. Quantitative, 5 point, 4 point and 3 point, and then description of those dimensions need to be there. मैं आपको PowerPoint presentation दे दूँगी. Clear है? Any question till now? हर स्टूडेंट के लिए नहीं बनेगी मैम. एक रूब्रिक बनाओगे फॉर एन एक्टिविटी, एक्टिविटी वाइज होगी. से फॉर एग्जांपल ऑन द स्क्रीन इट इज अ रूब्रिक शीट फॉर सेमिनार एक्टिविटी. आप सबने मॉड्यूल्स कर रखे हैं ना, 8 मॉड्यूल्स ऑफ AICT. उन 8 मॉड्यूल्स में जो आपकी मेंटर ट्रेनिंग पॉलिसी है अवेलेबल ऑन इंटरनेट, फॉर एवरी मॉड्यूल देयर इज अ रूब्रिक शीट डेवलप्ड. And when the mentor is going to evaluate you, that is on the basis of that standard criteria designed by us as a course coordinator. तो आपको अगर वो कम्युनिकेशन स्किल में, जब से माय मॉड्यूल इज कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स, मोड्स एंड नॉलेज डिसएमिनेशन, तो उसमें जो मैंने रूब्रिक शीट डेवलप कर रखी है, वट एवर मेंटर, हूसोएवर इज योर मेंटर, व्हेन ही और शी इज गोइंग टू इवेलुएट यू, वो अपनी परसेप्शन के बेस पे नहीं करेगा. देयर इज वन स्टैंडर्ड क्राइटेरिया अवेलेबल, उसी बेसिस पे वो आपकी परफॉर्मेंस को इवेलुएट करेगा. तो आपके हर मॉड्यूल, जैसे मॉड्यूल नंबर 7 है, मॉड्यूल नंबर 8 है, 6 है, 7 है, फर्स्ट है, हर मॉड्यूल की एक स्टैंडर्ड रूब्रिक क्राइटेरिया इज देयर. आपका मेंटर आपकी रूब्रिक शीट निकालेगा. व्हेन यू आर गिविंग लेक्चर्स और व्हाटएवर मीन सेलेक्टेड बाय द मेंटर फॉर इवैल्यूएशन, उस रूब्रिक में जितनी डायमेंशन है उस बेसिस पे वो आपको इवैल्यूएट करेगा. Irrespective of your past experience, irrespective of your degree, irrespective of your institute, the criteria remain same for each and every faculty member. उसमें एक कॉलम ये भी है, यहाँ है ना पॉइंट्स अवॉर्डेड, वहाँ लिखा हुआ है रिमार्क्स फ्रॉम द मेंटर. उस रिमार्क्स में मेंटर में राइट, अगर उसको लगा कि आपको प्रेजेंटेशन स्किल पे फोकस करने की जरूरत है, द मेंटर में remark in that particular rubric the teacher need to develop his or her presentation or orientation skill. तो आपको उसको improve करना पड़ेगा. तो जब हम rubric बनाते हैं, it is for the activity, it is not for the individual candidate. So one may be able to get good marks in the module of research, but one may not be able to get good marks in another module. So rubric किसके लिए होता है हमारा? हमेशा activity के लिए, not for the individual student. Say rubric for a presentation scale, it is an analytical kind of rubric. So there are 4 different dimensions: presentation scale, information collection, utilization of different visual aids, and class participation. And scale decided as excellent, good, fair, poor, and the total percentage awarded to that particular dimension. So qualitative and quantitative scales are there, and there is a description. Now, for presentation scale, that is excellent. Hold attention of entire audiences with the use of direct eye contact, seldom looking at notes, and excellent in terms of communication skill. And speaks in voice modulation to maintain audience interest and emphasis key point and make best utilization of the time. Fear category में क्या है? Display less eye contact with audience, reading partially from the notes and slide, and speaks in uneven volume, not very good in terms of communication skill. Poor category, minimal eye contact, reading mostly from notes and slides, and speaks in uneven volume with little or no inflection. So each and every dimension is clearly described when it comes to the development of a rubric sheet. Next आता है, हमने rubric sheet देनी कब है? जब हमने at departmental level we are going to construct a rubric sheet. These are the 4 different dimensions on which we need to work. The very first one is the reflecting stage. So what we mean by reflecting? किसी भी एक्टिविटी का रिफ्लेक्शन स्टेज क्या होगा?
Just we make a sort of blueprint and sort of that, a structure layout plan.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. So we are thinking about that how I'm going to evaluate that activity. Communication में हम कहते हैं ना verbal as well as non-verbal communication. Research based presentation में हम कहते हैं content need to be more focused, student need to collect information from authentic resources. So I will give weightage to information collection rather than communication skill in my research based activity rather than simple presentation in a classroom environment. When I'm saying a practical work or a laboratory investigation, so laboratory की reflecting stages क्या हैं? The student select equipment, select the material, understand the objective of that practical, and then perform that practical activity as per the demonstration given by the teacher, collect data, interpret data, produce a product in terms of report writing or just the analysis of information. तो ये reflection क्या है मेरी, कि जब मेरा student laboratory environment में enter करेगा, these are the different things the student need to perform. So when I'm saying the student is able to identify an equipment, so ये क्या है उसका? Label that equipment. So I am listing कि उसकी processing में कौन से part हैं, किस तरह का product मैं demand कर रही हूँ in that particular environment. So yesterday I was saying there must be a written, rather than writing that report in a practical environment, there must be a printed manual given to the student. कि focus मेरा उस activity में क्या है? Development of skill rather than developing writing skill. वो राइट भी कहाँ से कर रहा है? कहीं से कॉपी पेस्ट मार के राइट कर रहा है. तो मेरा फोकस उस टाइम पीरियड को 2 आवर्स को यूज करना था फॉर अ स्किल डेवलपमेंट. तो मेरी प्रोसेसिंग प्रोसेस इंफॉर्मेशन क्या है, प्रोडक्ट ऑफ दैट इंफॉर्मेशन व्हाट इज दैट, बिहेवियर स्टूडेंट का किस तरह से होना चाहिए लेबोरेटरी इन्वायरमेंट में, वो सेफ्टी प्रिकॉशंस को फॉलो करे, ड्रेस कोड को प्रॉपर फॉलो करे. Then at the end in a laboratory environment there is a viva voce conducted by the teacher. तो ये क्या है मेरी रिफ्लेक्टिव स्टेज. और लिस्टिंग स्टेज में मेरी इवैल्यूएशन की 4 मेजर डायमेंशंस आएंगी: प्रोसेस परफॉर्मेंस, प्रोडक्ट परफॉर्मेंस, ग्रुप बिहेवियर एंड वाइवा वॉस. तो मैंने उसको क्या कर दिया, लिस्टिंग कर दिया. देन ग्रुपिंग एंड लेबलिंग. ग्रुपिंग एंड लेबलिंग मीन्स I need to understand that for every dimension there is a distinct kind of weightage I am going to give. जैसे हम कम्युनिकेशन में कह रहे थे कि कम्युनिकेशन, ड्रेस, नॉन वर्बल, 3 डिफरेंट डायमेंशन, बट किसका पार्ट है? ब्रॉडर कम्युनिकेशन का. तो मैं उनको 2-2 3-3 नंबर देने की बजाय व्हाई कांट आई गिव 5 मार्क्स टू कम्युनिकेशन स्किल एंड गिव डिस्क्रिप्शन टू दैट डायमेंशन. तो वो मैंने क्या कर दिया, ग्रुपिंग एंड labeling and then application. After getting score or after assessing the performance, what needs to be my next step? उसमें क्या आता है, target specific task need to be given to the student. एक बार ही आप रिटर्न असाइनमेंट दे रहे हो, फिर आप उसको रिटर्न असाइनमेंट दे रहे हो, थर्ड टाइम भी उसको रिटर्न असाइनमेंट दे रहे हो. असाइनमेंट वापस कब कर रहे हो, एट द एंड ऑफ द सेमेस्टर. कोई पर्पस है उस एक्टिविटी का स्टूडेंट के लिए? स्टूडेंट कुछ भी improve upon नहीं कर रहा with the help of that activity. So whenever the teacher is going to give activity to the student, the target need to be very clear. Why I am giving this particular activity to my student? So we need to train the mind rather than following the practices that is happening in technical education system since ages. जैसे मेरे टीचर मुझे पढ़ा रहे थे, वैसे मेरा प्रोफेसर आज मुझे आके क्लास में पढ़ा रहा है. Maybe in the time to come, this particular generation is not very happy the way we are dealing with technical student. जो आर्ट्स वाले का प्रोसेस है पढ़ाने का, वही इंजीनियरिंग वाले स्टूडेंट को अगर पढ़ाने का रहेगा, so we are not able to develop a mapping between cognitive, psychomotor and affective skills. So next is, what are the different types of rubrics available? अब हमारे पास different variety of subjects are available. There are few numerical subjects, there are few theoretical subjects. So nature of the subject is different. So depending upon the nature of the subject, our evaluation tool also need to be different. So जब हम holistic kind of rubric की बात करते हैं, in this kind of rubric, we are just defining the evaluation criteria. Say for example, the two faculty from the subject of mathematics or any subject related to design, one faculty said, I will give 100% marks to the student if their answer is correct too. कि उसने formula लगा दिया, but if the calculation is not okay, there is a mistake in calculation, I am not going to give mark, I am going to assign 0 to that particular question. Another teacher said, ठीक है उसने formula लगाया है तो 1 नंबर दे दो. सेम स्टूडेंट के लिए डिफरेंट इवैल्यूएशन क्राइटेरिया हो गया बाय द 2 डिफरेंट फैकल्टी. सो हमने डिपार्टमेंट लेवल पे डिसाइड कर लिया, देयर विल बी अ स्टेप बाय स्टेप मार्किंग स्कीम फॉलोड बाय ऑल द फैकल्टी मेंबर सो दैट द सेम काइंड ऑफ इवैल्यूएशन इज कैरिड एट डिपार्टमेंटल लेवल. तो इसमें क्या कर दिया उन्होंने, डिमॉन्स्ट्रेट कंप्लीट अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम, ऑल रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ टास्क इंक्लूडेड इन रिस्पॉन्स, डिमॉन्स्ट्रेट कंसिडरेबल अंडरस्टैंडिंग, demonstrate partial understanding and demonstrate little understanding. तो हमने क्या कर दिया, step by step formation. Holistic kind of rubric में जब हम speaking की बात कर रहे थे, so we consider speaking as a single dimension and we developed evaluation criteria for the same. Analytical kind of rubric, these kind of rubrics can be simply used for internal evaluation. क्यों use कर सकते हैं? Because it help us to handle many of the dimensions at a single time. तो उसमें आपने बहुत सारे dimensions को एक प्लेटफॉर्म पे लाके कलेक्ट कर दिया and given weightage to those dimensions. Module 6 में आपने ये rubric sheet देखी होगी. This rubric sheet is for teaching effectiveness. कितनी dimensions में classify किया उन्होंने rubric को? Knowledge, communication, dress code, punctuality and so on. Then scale decided as 4, 3, 2 and 1. उन्होंने टीचिंग डायमेंशंस को क्या कर दिया, देन वेटेज, कम्युनिकेशन को 2 नंबर देंगे, ड्रेस कोड को 1 देंगे, पंक्चुअलिटी को 1 देंगे. अब आप इवैल्यूएट कैसे करोगे इनको? सपोज मेंटर आपकी क्लास में गए कि कम टू नो कि नॉलेज ऑफ द सब्जेक्ट तो 4 है, द टीचर इज वेरी एक्सीलेंट इन टर्म्स ऑफ नॉलेज, तो उन्होंने आपको 4 मार्क्स पे टिक कर दिया. आपके टोटल मार्क्स कितने आएंगे? 4 into 2. नॉलेज में कितने मार्क्स हो गए आपके? 8. कम्युनिकेशन कितनी है? 3. 3 into 2 6. ड्रेस कोड को भी 3 मार्क्स दिए हैं, 3 into 1 3. तो टोटल आपका कितना स्कोर हो गया? 40.5 आउट ऑफ 46. तो आपकी टीचिंग इफेक्टिवनेस कितनी है? 88%. तो एनालिटिकल काइंड ऑफ रूब्रिक में क्या होता है? डायमेंशंस, इंडिकेटर टू डिफरेंट डायमेंशन एंड देन एट द एंड स्कोरिंग ऑफ ऑल द डायमेंशन एंड गिविंग score in terms of percentage. Clear? ये जो rubric sheet है, analytical kind of rubric sheet, this is mostly used by many of the teachers for their internal assessment purposes. Next is, last one is the task specific rubric sheet that we can use for student performance. In this, we need to find out how many times this particular activity is given to the student. So task specific, say for example, major project work. So there may be two different evaluation carry forward for project work: introduction of the project problem, and then implementation and execution of the project. So we need to prepare 3 different rubric sheet, and on the basis of that rubric sheet, at the end we need to compile the scores of all the rubric and give final score to the student. So अगर आपकी activity multiple numbers में evaluate हो रही है, for every activity we need to design a rubric sheet, and
ये
then
देखिए इसमें तो बंद कर लीजिएगा आखिर
used for by the management for the teachers or by the policy maker
बंद
at
कर लीजिएगा वहाँ पे
level. So
आखिर
that is developmental kind of rubric. Developmental rubric, say for example, NBA is compulsory for all the institution. For NBA, they demand for the rubric sheets. आपके सब्जेक्ट की rubric sheets होनी चाहिए. At institute level, there are certain parameters जिनकी assessment rubric criteria के basis पे होगी. So developmental kind of rubric help us to monitor the development of a process, product or a behavior. So developmental rubric में one example can be the effort to increase teaching effectiveness. So NBA team may ask that what is the management doing for increasing efficiency in terms of teaching effectiveness for the faculty. So they will call out for the criteria कि आप किस basis के ऊपर teaching की effectiveness को evaluate कर रहे हो. So it is developmental. Or the students in your class who are not very good in terms of their performance, the teacher will identify 2 or 3 students in a class and what are the different efforts put in by the teacher that need to be in a record process with the help of a rubric sheet. कि आपने कितने मिड सेमेस्टर टेस्ट कराए, उनकी परफॉर्मेंस कैसी थी, हाउ द बिहेवियर चेंजेस ओवर द टाइम, किस तरह के एफर्ट या इनपुट वो डेवलप कर रहे हैं. सो रूब्रिक क्या प्रोवाइड करेंगे? इट प्रोवाइड अ क्लियर एंड ट्रांसपेरेंट पिक्चर इन टर्म्स ऑफ इवैल्यूएशन. There are many good private universities that are displaying rubric on their LMS facility. So student as well as other stakeholders come to know कि किस बेसिस पे अपने स्टूडेंट को असेस या इवैल्यूएट कर रहे हैं. दे आर टाइमली, दे आर एप्रोप्रिएट एंड रिफ्लेक्टिव. सो एज अ स्टूडेंट आई विल फोकस ऑन द क्राइटेरिया विच इज वीक. आई विल फोकस ऑन द डायमेंशन विच हेल्प मी टू गिव गुड मार्क्स एज कम्पेयर टू अदर डायमेंशन. मैं कम्युनिकेशन पे काम कर रही थी, मेरा टीचर किस चीज़ पे फोकस कर रहा है? इंफॉर्मेशन कलेक्शन पे. I was working on information collection. My teacher was focusing on integration of technology. So when the written criteria is available, it is clear to me to shift from B to A grade. What are the different dimensions on which I need to focus more as compared to other? It is honest and supportive. Everything is in written manner. कुछ सारा कुछ आपका ट्रांसपेरेंट फॉर्म में दे रहे हो. So teacher cannot go by the face value. It is as per the performance displayed by the student. So it focused on learning and it provide an enabling environment in which many of the students can work. So at the end, when it comes to the design of the rubric sheet, the first thing that we need to consider, as per the learning outcomes of your subject, you are going to design this criteria. If your assessment is addressing the critical thinking skill, पहली बात, आपकी टीचिंग में आपने क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग स्किल की प्रॉब्लम्स दी थी. इफ इट इज नॉट देयर, इट मींस यू आर नॉट गोइंग टू ऐड इट टू द असेसमेंट एंड इवैल्यूएशन. अगर टीचर खुद ही बुक से पढ़ के पढ़ा रहा है, द टीचर इज नॉट गिविंग एप्लीकेशन बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस और असाइनमेंट टू द स्टूडेंट, आपकी रूब्रिक में भी वो स्किल फिर नहीं आएगी. बिकॉज व्हेन एट डिपार्टमेंटल लेवल रूब्रिक इज प्रिपेयर्ड, developed for the student, give it to the student along with the activity. Any student may raise objection that if the facility or resources are not available at institute level, how my teacher can evaluate me on the basis of this performance. Say presentation skill में आप कहते हो use of different visual aid. निटर में तो मैं कह सकती हूँ कि आप different visual aid को use करो. Maybe at XYZ institution the technological resources are not available. So वो आपकी रूब्रिक का पार्ट नहीं होगा. Does it cover important dimension of the student performance? So what is the part that you want to develop? Is it skill? Is it knowledge? Is it behavior? So that need to be the of the maximum weightage. Do the criteria reflect current conception of excellence in the field? So when I'm saying excellent category student, what do you mean by excellence? वो excellence level को कौन define करेगा? It is as per the criteria given by your board or by your university. अगर आपके less than 40% fail है, so that scale will be used in the rubric sheet also. Does the rubric reflect what you emphasize in your teaching? So whatever you are making in terms of evaluation, that need to be the part of your teaching strategy. Does the highest scale represent a truly exemplary performance of the product? Are the dimensions or scale well defined in terms of their language? Is it very clear to everyone that what each scale measure? And whenever it comes to assigning the score at each scale point, there must be clear distinction between the different categories. Is it clear exactly what a student need to do to get a score at each scale point? So these are the different things that we need to consider. Rubric must be free from any biases, and it must reward or penalize student based on the skill unrelated to the outcome being measured. So in nutshell, if as a teacher I'm not dealing the way I'm evaluating my student, I am not presenting a transparent kind of evaluation at institute level. Okay. So Albert Einstein said, I never teach my student, I only provide the conditions in which they can learn. So this is how it is possible for us to design a rubric